It's been a horrific year for wildfires, especially in Hawaii. Joining us now is David Sampson. There is a bipartisan commission working on this. What can you tell us?
Well, Congress created this commission as a part of the Bipartisan Infrastructure Act because they realized that there needed to be a fundamental relook at how we treat wildfires across the entire wildfire life cycle. And this is the first comprehensive look at the issue in about 50 years. And so what the commission's overarching recommendation is that we have to move from a reactive posture to a proactive posture and get ahead of the curve on the front end of wildfires through mitigation, building in resiliency to the built environment, especially in the wildland-urban interface, be much more aggressive in fuel loads management, especially on public lands, and really that's the only way that we're going to be able to bend the risk curve on this. We have seen just conflagration after conflagration in the United States over the last decade, most recently in Maui. And so the commission's recommendations are, number one, better risk identification. Number two, pre-disaster mitigation, preparedness and response. And third, much more emphasis on recovery in the post-fire environment so that we don't build back to the same conditions that existed prior to the disaster.
How can governments and people make changes right now?
Well, there are lots of ways. We have to give thoughts to, local governments need to give thoughts to land use planning, zoning, and building codes. We know how to build houses that are more fire resistant, and especially in those communities that are prone to wildfires, local governments need to address those issues. We can do that by retrofitting existing homes and structures. Simple things like changing the vents on your attic's eaves and making sure that they have a very, very fine mesh to keep embers from getting into the attics. That's how most homes catch on fire in wildfires. It's not actually a wall of fire that catches the house on fire. It's embers that can blow up to 5 miles away from a fire. And so retrofitting homes, we're talking about hundreds of dollars in cost to replace vents that makes homes much more resilient. Making sure you have a 5-foot safe zone around your house where there are no combustible materials. Don't stack firewood up against your house. Make sure your decks and roofs are clean and don't have leaves and pine needles on them. You can go to www.apci.org/wildfire.
Well, thank you for your time.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Angela.
Go to businessfirstam.com for where to see our show on TV.